All right, everyone. So super excited to start this session. This is the official post-tax season RightTool bi-monthly webinar with product updates. First, I want to check to make sure that the chat is working. Can you go in the chat and say hello? I want to make sure that's working. Okay, so many, perfect. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
Good.
and one thing real quick before we get started, Hector, if you don't mind giving me, I don't know if there's a way you can do it. Give me permissions to like remove things. That way I can make sure we have, or remove people in the actual Zoom call.
Oh, for the classic people bringing their their notes. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep. So I'll make you co-host. You should be able to do that.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Um, so I'm gonna start with can you see my screen by the way?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So recently I did this post here asking for the best right tool feature. And as I go down through all the answers, the most common, I would say the most common theme that we see here were the favorite features that people, the favorite feature that people like the most common one is the copy paste journal entries from Excel. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of take a step back and I'm going to walk everybody through that feature because I want to make sure that every single person here is taking advantage of the pasting journal entry from Excel. Okay, so this will be a review for a lot of folks, but I want to make sure that we all understand exactly what that is. Now, the pasting into Excel actually was the original feature that we call the pasting into Excel, but now we have that paste style throughout every transaction, or it should work across every transaction, unless QuickBooks did something weird and and we have to go back and fix it. But we've taken this philosophy and brought it across every single transaction. Now, the reason why everybody knows it as the paste Excel feature and not paste into QuickBooks feature is because this was technically the very first feature that we created in RightTool. I'll give you a quick backstory. Some of you are probably not are probably done with hearing this story. You've heard it a million times. But when I reached out to Mark, which was 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, my original idea was to be able to paste into a journal entry. Literally, this didn't exist 3 years ago. And when I saw Mark show something in LinkedIn that did some sort of automations inside the page, I said, maybe this guy can bring my dream to life, which is being able to paste into a journal entry. And I had developed a version of this for QuickBooks Desktop like 12 years ago and stopped working for what one reason or the other. And I kind of gave up on the idea that we will ever be able to paste something into a journal entry just because the way the browser works. And then when Mark kind of showed kind of how this worked, how something else worked, I'm like, this might be the solution. And he built the first version of this in a weekend. And that's when I decided, if he could build this in a weekend, I think he can build like a gazillion other ideas that I may come to mind. And it's been this beautiful friendship and partnership with both Mark and I and Patrick and the community and Joe and the other team members collaborate and create all sorts of amazing things. But I also want to take this feature to the next level. So I want your help. I want everybody that's watching this webinar and then watching the recording afterwards to think a little bit deeper in how we can make this feature even better. So let me walk you through it. The very first thing is once you have this turned on, actually, it'll be kind of important to kind of show. We're going to go into the settings and then we're going to go into batch and it should be called copy Excel to transactions. Actually, by the way, that the name of that feature has changed so many times. We've called it paste, we call it copy. I think it's all confusing, but it's called copy Excel to transactions. And again, it works journal entry and other features as well. And we have the accompanying video. But I think we can do so much more with this feature, or at least with the mechanics of this feature. So I want you to, for a minute, just kind of think yourself as a product developer and also think that the possibilities are endless. And then anything that's interesting that would be useful, let me know about it. For people that do Intuit Enterprise Suite, we'll be working in the next 2 months or so on getting this feature to work there too, in the intercompany and all the other stuff that's kind of beyond the regular journal entry. So thank you very much, Natalia, for reminding us of the intercompany pasting for into an enterprise suite. So the first thing is we're going to click on Paste Excel. And what you kind of see the app do is it kind of goes through cycles and it reads every single drop-down menu. And this is for verification purposes. And it loads it into an internal memory that you can't see, where we know before we go paste the journal entry, we know what the total, what are the names of all the accounts, what the name of all the customers and vendors, name of locations, name of classes. That way, if you paste something that doesn't match or is not going to have something that matches QuickBooks, you won't get an error or you won't get a blank. So that's happening behind the scenes. Now, there's a little button here that is super underrated called Export All List Data. I think a lot of people haven't even looked at this specific one. So we could go to Export All List Data. And what it does is here on the downloads, you can download a CSV file that basically is, I don't know what you would call it, maybe like a backup or it's basically
just a data dump.
It's a data dump. Yeah, exactly. We love that word, the data dump. So one column is all the accounts that are in this specific company file. Another one is all the names. Another one is all the classes. Another one is all the locations. Some inside baseball here. The reason why I asked Mark to create this originally is so I can have a quick way to test the tool. But in this case, you may be using it for other reasons. I've seen some people create what's called a validated drop-down list in Excel as their own template because they're bringing journal entries from payroll or Stripe or whatever, Amazon, and then they're pasting it in the spreadsheet first, and they're verifying that it complies to the list that is in QuickBooks, and then they're bringing it into QuickBooks. So we kind of built this kind of thinking that there's something that whatever you want to do with this, that's like up to you to do it. Now, for me to do a quick test, what I can do is I can delete everything, let's say after this 18th line. That way I have basically a pretty big list where everything has a correct validated entity. And then this is going to be, let's say, my template for doing a journal entry, mostly just to kind of showcase this, right? So I'm going to go into my, I'm actually going to delete accounts payable and accounts receivable, just because that's a whole nother ball game of complications. I don't want to get too much into it. So then I put my dollar amounts. And again, why would you do this and not do it straight into the software? I get it. I totally see how this could be redundant or feels like, you don't need to do this. But the impetus of this, and I would love for you guys in chat to tell us particular use cases where you could totally prove that this thing is useful, is that in a lot of cases, your data, I mean, these journal entries already sort of partially exist in some other universe, in some other software, in some other app, and all you want to do is tweak a couple of things before you bring it into in QuickBooks. So that's kind of like I wanted to get from you, if you can tell me in the chat, and what are the use cases that you would use. Okay, so I finished my journal entry here. All my debits match all my credits, and I just kind of want to showcase how this works. This works in Excel. This works in Google Sheets. Anything that's a spreadsheet. Then we're gonna grab all the contents from here. We have account, debits, credits, descriptions, name, location, class. I'm actually gonna copy the location here and paste it into the description. So there's just some text in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna go back into QuickBooks, not this one, but the one that has the journal entry, this one. And then I'm going to paste in here. Now, also, it's important to mention that you can either paste or you can also drag and drop a CSV file. So you have a system that's creating CSV files, and again, that they're pre-validated. You would just have it in here, and green means it validates, okay? So I can change anything on the description tab, and that's always going to be green because that's unvalidated data, okay? So there's just no way to get that one wrong. But if I have something wrong in the account section, if we kind of do a fuzzy search, and there's all sorts of thinking that we can do around how to do fuzzy search, but through a fuzzy search, if there are categories that seem similar, then it gives you a list of all the potential categories that match some of the words that you have in there. So if I just put the word category, for example, apparently there's 3 other accounts in my chart of accounts that have the word category in it, and it's telling you, okay, it could be any one of these, right? So that's kind of the idea, is that even if you miss an account, or you have just the account number, or just the name, or just part of the name, or just part of the number, that'll try through a fuzzy search, try to help you get that. Same thing with classes or locations. So if I just type ABC here, that's technically wrong, but it found that there's only one account that has ABC. Sorry, one class that has ABC as the subclass, and you can verify that. So that's kind of the purpose of doing that. Another thing that's pretty neat, if I have any of these things that are wrong, okay, I'm just going to tell you here that are wrong. Okay, we have up here, we have a legend for the color matching, but it also has a link basically where you click on that. So if you click on no exact match or no match, actually, let me just go down here. I just put Cum. Okay. So if I click on the yellow up here in the top in the legend, or the red, it takes me to the next one. So it's kind of a workflow for you to go, okay, this is the next one that needs to be fixed, or that needs to be uh, filled in correctly, or whatever it is, right? So again, you have the option to blank it out, or correct one, having the list of potentials here. Now, what's most interesting is that this interface is actually very old. Like, I think we came up with this 3 years ago. We actually have not upgraded that interface at all. So if there's an opportunity to fix the UI a little bit, of course, we can do that. The idea is that it works. Now, we have evolved a lot in how this data gets entered. So a couple of years ago, you would actually have to watch it type data for you, and you go cell by cell, and it was kind of fun, satisfying, but also kind of a waste of time. We figured how
That's
to
very slow if you
very
had like
slow, how to
a
load
large
it.
enough.
Yeah, load it straight in here. So that's basically the mechanics of it. So I wanted to make sure that everyone kind of had a general idea how that worked. I think my math here was calculating correctly. And then I go to save, and it just saves my journal entry. Now, that being said, inspired by our tool, QuickBooks did build sort of kind of a copy and pasting tool, which I want to showcase because I think it's important to understand what we do and understand what QuickBooks does. Up here in the top right, there's a little export button, and then there's a paste button. So if I click on the export button, and this journal entry has already been created, I basically, actually, that's not the one. Let me X out of that. I'm going to bring a different spreadsheet here. This is the one that, hold on.
It's want to fight with you.
Yeah, I got weird clicking and dragging issues here. Okay, well, it's here. Okay, so this is the one that QuickBooks exported from the existing one, which actually works pretty well. I'll admit that this thing was totally crap and unstable, but it seems to work pretty well. This is basically just grabbing the exact same thing that you see on the screen and exporting it, which is also very useful, by the way. Like, we've had this export feature in Excel, in RightTool for a while, but we took it away because QuickBooks works pretty well. We did take it away, right? Or do we still
No, it
have?
still happens. I
Yeah,
think maybe,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not.
we probably should get rid of that. Okay, so so I'm gonna copy. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. Just gonna do a copy of it, and then I'm gonna start over, create a new journal entry, and then I'm gonna use what QuickBooks created. Again, I'm gonna say inspired by us, but whatever. Which is the other little button here that says paste. So I click on that, and it brings it in here, and that's pretty stable. And I would say at this point, even though like we really like our feature and we like the pre-validation, and we think that we were total I don't say revolutionaries, but we were total innovators when we came up with the pasting tool. Now built into QuickBooks, the pasting tool is essentially in there. So if you're paying for RightTool Pro exclusively only for this thing, it is possible that you don't need to anymore because there's a built-in mechanism. So now that keeps us in our toes, which is why we always praise Intuit for being inspired by us and building something that's inspired by us, because now we need to innovate. So this is where we need your feedback. Where do we take Excel pasting to the next level? So I'll allow you to think through that a little bit, and give us some of the feedback. And I think we could always be one step ahead into it anyway. So we love that they did it. We love that they brought it to life. We have records that we did it first, but that's neither here or there. It's built into it. Mark, you want to say anything before we go into the actual updates for this month?
No, not anything specifically on that at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thinking out loud, AI could be a thing that we bring in, although I think the RightTool crowd, the people that are here, are mostly more bullish towards functional things that stem from us giving it specific directions or clicking on specific things than AI doing random things. But I think the opportunity could be maybe possibly on, because I've done this where I get some payroll export summary from some random payroll company, and I want to like automate building the journal entry. So I would give it my chart of accounts, give it the thing, and then have it built a predetermined journal entry. So that could be good. I think for those that use Double, formerly known as Keeper, Keeper did build something like that. It's like sort of a journal entry creator. So like we could do something like that, but maybe we want to kind of focus on stuff that would be much more useful.
Yeah,
Okay.
and honest to God, I mean, I'm more pro AI than the average millennial slash Gen Z cusper kind of person, to be fair. But when it comes to using AI in product, I have doubts for most things that would be right tool related, anyways. Like, there's things QuickBooks could do with AI that I think would be really cool. But I don't think there's a lot of stuff that right tool specifically does that I consider like super AI a great thing for it, if that makes any sense. Not against AI, just that I don't know if right tool fits in that puzzle slot
Yeah.
there.
We're not going to be the anti-AI, but in many ways, in a world where like
He's either thinking for a really long time or his internet just kind of had a little glitch, or mine did. Okay, just making sure. I was actually just about to ask, can people hear me? Oh, I think Hector's back.
am I back? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get on to our May 5th, May update for RightTool. We are going to be on version 1.42.3. As of this morning, your RightTool should have been updated, and you should be seeing that feature. We're going to cover 4 existing features that we updated that are on the free edition of RightTool. We're going to cover 4 existing features that we updated for the Pro edition of RightTool, and we're gonna cover 5 full features that we updated in the Pro edition. And then we're going to talk about the RightTool certification program and the new super exciting Super Tools beta, which is like a secret project that kind of we've been working behind the scenes, which we think is the evolution of RightTool. It's not quite RightTool 2.0, but it's more like, what if RightTool had less restrictions, so to speak? And then so that's what Super Tools is. So I think you're going to be excited to hear about that. And we're going to give free access to those that are certified pros until we go commercial, which will probably be somewhere around fall after a reframe event this November. Let's talk about existing features, updates for the free edition. So we're going to cover 4. So copy memo to bill payment. We now added the ability to copy the memo from a bill once the bill payment has already been created after the fact. So we've had the workflow where you go from bill to pay bill and the memo copies, but now we can do it after the fact too. On export to CSV, we have one specific user in the Facebook group that told us that for importing data into, I think was some sort of tax software, they needed a trial balance. Instead of importing as account, debits, and credits, it would do account and amount, and debits and credits will already be resolved as a positive or negative. So that's a pretty interesting one too. The reports preset button that's currently on classic. We moved a couple of these into modern reports, and then hiding a sub column button now works in modern reports. Super, super useful for a lot of people with a lot of classes, subclasses, or customers. projects, locations, and that sort of thing. So Mark, I'll give you power so you can cover these. Are you ready for that or no? Maybe.
Let's see here. The bill payment one would just take me just a second to get to. If you want to show the export report to CSV, I'll
Okay,
show the bill
so
payment
I'll do that. So let's start with the export CSV. So first, let's go ahead and run a trial balance. So let me go into reports and let me pull up a trial balance. Okay. And for some quirky reason, this company file still shows me the classic mode of the trial balance. So I'm
Yes,
gonna go
Hector
into
Garcia Corp is like the last remaining survivor, I think, of
yes, yeah. So right now, when you are in the trial balance, the standard export that QuickBooks gives you is you click on export and you can do Excel, Google Sheets, PDF, you can do everything. However, what it gives you is exactly, by the way, no criticism towards it. I think, let me just close this one. I think when you're exporting exactly what you see on the screen, that's super valuable. That's what most people expect. So this is your standard export, which basically shows the accounts, debits, and credits. Okay. And the leading header. So what we did in our tool is here on the reports actions, and that reports actions button in red, that just means it's RightTool related. So we're gonna go down and it's called TB single column. TB single column. So we'll click on that, and essentially we'll just run through it, create a CSV, and then we did two things. One, pre-calculate the debits and credits for you, again, which you could do easily in Excel. I know that. But it's now showing in negatives and credits. And we also got rid of the running header because we figured that if you're going to export the trial balance like this, it's probably because you're going to import it somewhere. So then the header is not useful to most people. Okay. So that's it. So Mark, are you ready?
Yes, I am
All right.
officially ready.
Stop sharing. And now you can share.
Yeah, let's see here. Get here. Let's zoom in so people can see it.
So copy
So,
bill. Yep, that one.
yeah, and actually, just to give you a little bit of give people a little bit of a primer, there used to be a feature, or there still is a feature, where if you clicked mark as paid, it would take the memo from the bill that you click as mark as paid, and it would bring it into the memo of the bill payment. But people have asked, like, hey, can we do this from the bill payment screen directly, or can we do it with multiple bills? Well, the good news is now you can. We have this feature right up here that says copy memos from bills. You just click on that. It'll take just a minute, but you'll see it will actually take all the bills that you have checked currently for this bill payment, and it will add all the memos with a little slash in there between each of the things so that you have all the memo information.
And can I
So,
put I'm gonna put my rant hat on for a second. Why in the world is the memo not showing on this screen? Like in general, I just don't understand why it cannot get into its head, the developers. And I've told every single one of them, like literally, I say, shut up, let me start my conversation. And I say, before we talk about anything, I need you to make sure that whatever memo the transaction has shows up on every single screen, because if I cannot see my memos are useless. In software principle, like software development 101, is if there's an input screen, if there's an input field, if there's a place to put the data in, there needs to be a place to view the data. And that thing just drives me nuts. Why can't I see the memo in here? So what we've done is kind of sort of solve the problem by bringing it in here, but I believe that it would be much more useful to physically see it in the screen. Now, some of the challenges that Mark and I have been thinking through is, it just brings a memo across the board, but it's the memo of multiple bills. So now, like, do we like think about this hard and go, okay, this memo is for this bill, this memo is for that bill, this memo is for, like, we have to like now think through, how else we can organize just dumping all the memos in there. As you can see it now, the way we have it now is we see memo, memo, memo. Then we see, I think, dollar amount, transaction number, dollar amount, transaction number, dollar amount, transaction number. So I wonder if there's some other logic that would work best,
I
so maybe transaction number, dollar amount memo, transaction number, dollar amount memo. So something we have to think through it. And I want you
yeah.
guys again, that's what the Facebook group is useful for. So you guys tell us exactly how how best to see this for your particular use case.
Man. Mm. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. And I mean, it's always one of those things where we can bring in extra data into the pages ourselves, but I like to make it because we live on an extra layer on top of QuickBooks. I don't want to slow QuickBooks down by making it so we just always bring in data. I have to
Right,
put a button in there when we do
right.
it. So,
Right. And then one of the use cases that people are requesting in the chat is what about the project name? What about the class? What about the location? So, like, the location is fairly easy because it's one location for the entire transaction. Classes and projects are a little bit more complex because inside the bill, you can have multiple lines and multiple classes and projects. And that could like really, really confuse things. So that's something that like it might take us a lot of thinking, to go through how can we cleanly bring in line item level detail. Because if we open up the floodgates, people are going to be, what about the memo of the line description? What about the product or service? And then all of a sudden, the memo is basically a duplication of the entire bill.
yeah.
So we want to, we're thinking through the most important things. We think the memo, the bill number, or the invoice number, whatever, are the two most important ones. Everything else will be bonus. But again, that's what if you're not part of the Facebook group, I need you to be in the Facebook group because that's where you make the case for suggestions.
Yeah. And it's also that tale as old as time issue sometimes where it's like we're trying to think through, okay, we want to make a feature that can kind of work for everybody, but how much do we want to add extra clicks into the process in doing so? Like I could make a little pop-up that's like, hey, you can do like all these things you want to import and you can select what you want to do, but is it more useful than, or is it more tedious than it is useful is kind of the question that comes across.
Right, right.
Not to get too much on that particular horse.
Yeah, there's a new feature that into a release. If I have time, I'll kind of go over it, which is the new backdating uh, transactions in the bank feeds. And it only has two fields. It has vendor name and account. And then I'm like, okay, what about location? What about class? But then that's the problem, right? They're trying to do something that's fairly quick, but adding more stuff to it, it just slows down the process. So that's kind of the fine line
Yeah.
that we work in. So you want to do reports preset?
Yes. Actually, I can do both of these because these are both in reports.
Okay.
So in classic reports, we already had a feature. It's in the classic report section of RightTool's options uh, called the report preset button. This is just like our solution to when people are like, oh, I have a certain set of things I want to do to every report I go into every time that I do it. Um, So what this is you kind of you just click on report preset button. You say, oh, I want my negatives to be red. I want non-zero column rows and columns to show or something like that. The thing I personally think is really cool is you can set the report date and you can say rolling X months because when I was doing things, I always like to see the last 3 months. So I would just do like this right here. And then once you have everything set up the way that you want to, you come into here. I'm going to see if this works with the rolling 3 months because it's kind of weird sometimes. Uh, but now you'll see at the top right here, there's a button that says Run Presets. In the modern reports, when you try to change presets around, you'll know that like every time you change anything, it causes the whole page to reset. So when you can do everything all at once, and admittedly, yeah, I think I might have to refresh the page for the. Actually, no, that did do the
It,
rolling months.
it did the roll in 3 months. It did them in a really funny way, by the way. So like today's May 6th, and it went
Yeah,
back to February 1st. So I wonder if that's what we wanted to do, or if we wanted to go
yeah,
down to February 6th.
I have to look and see what was going on with that. That's
Okay.
interesting. But and so we'll definitely have some some fixing to do on that. So we'll see what happens. But yes, we're bringing it in. QuickBooks, the modern reports, it's just a little bit more difficult to work with report presets. So there's some things that are missing, as you can see in the slides. We don't have internal report footnotes anymore. Presetting debits and credits is something we can't do currently, and sorting the transaction dates ascending is also something that we don't have. But everything else should be working inside the report presets now. The next thing that I want to show, I'm just going to load this
Mark,
page
just one,
in.
one thing. Go back
Yep.
to the rolling X month, the setting where you get to
Yeah.
choose the rolling X months. Someone says that they would want to have a fixed date in there. So an option
Okay.
where you can just put a fixed date range.
Oh, that's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, and I know that's not probably not a very common use case because dynamically it's kind of a pain on the butt. Um,
Oh,
but
that if you're the person saying that if you do last month, we do have the ability to put last month in there as well. I just personally like the rolling X month, but if you like last month or this year or this month to date, things like that, there are options for that as well. I just like the rolling X month personally.
yeah, but I'm saying adding a custom date range is something that we could use. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
and also a so for rolling 3 months, there's or rolling X months, there's two modes. One, it's you do X rolling of months up to today's date, and then rolling of months up to the last day of the last month. So today's May 6th. And if I
Yeah,
ask for rolling 3 months,
yeah, that's what Michelle was talking about.
one mode could be February 6th to May 6th. Another mode could be February 1st to April 30th. So like I think
Yeah.
most logical is to like just go back to the beginning of last month. So when you're rolling X months ending last month or something like that,
Yeah,
like
that's
clean
kind of the
month.
thing. Is like I thought that's how I had it set up, but I guess I didn't. Either that or something's different between classic and modern reports in a way that I wouldn't expect.
But
But
now you got homework.
now I'll change it over. It's not too hard of a fix, so it's not
Yeah.
going to be a too problem.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. The next thing is the hide subcolumns button. I know I get a lot of questions about people saying like, "Hey, are you ever going to bring that back into modern reports?" Well, the good news is we have already brought it back into modern reports. It's just that instead of the old way we had it, where we had just like 500 list of little items at the top or buttons at the top you can click, we have opted to put everything into this report actions button at the top right. So up here, now you can see at the top three, we have this hide subcolumns button, the subcolumn button, and the total buttons that you can hide. For people who haven't seen this before, for the hide subcolumn buttons, for instance, we have these ABX, ABC, and CA classes right here. And for some people, they don't need to see all that. They only need to see the total. So if I click on hide subcolumns, it will hide anything that is a subcolumn and show only the total column. Now, as with anything that QuickBooks or that RightTool ever does with reports in QuickBooks, we cannot change how QuickBooks exports these things to PDF or CSV. So if you need to print this out for any particular reason, you have
You
to come
sorry,
back.
you mean PDF or Excel. We cannot touch PDF or Excel, but we can change the CSV.
Well, we can't change QuickBooks' version of export to
Yes, of course.
CSV. Let's put it
Yes.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have our own export report to CSV button that you can click, and it will go through, get everything, and then create a CSV for you that has the actual visual appealing, the visual of what's on the page. And that, by the way, works for other things that QuickBooks also does. Like if you ever close all the columns or all the rows inside of QuickBooks, when you export a PDF, I don't think it actually closes them in the PDF or the Excel export, whereas we will have that exported for you. So just something helpful
Wait, so
for
you're
that.
you're talking about not the columns, you're talking about the rows.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think one of the challenges that we had in QuickBooks in general is that when you create a PDF or something that was collapsed, it didn't, but I think they fixed that. And to be
Uh,
clear, Kate had a question about does it work with sub accounts? So
it
Kate,
only works on the columns. It does
columns.
not work on the rows.
But
If
there
that's
is
what you're referring to.
you can show that just show real quick the built-in QuickBooks function for rows that's in there.
Yes. There are now in QuickBooks, you have these options over here, collapse all. If you collapse, it will actually basically do, I think, what you're asking for here.
Yeah, that's what
Admittedly,
she's asking. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that would maybe work for you, Kate. But
Okay.
yeah. So just happy to have that back in. We originally made the subcomms button in Modern Reports a pro only feature. This will now work for people who are on the free version. So if you have I know a lot of nonprofit users love the subcolumn collapse, so you can use that on the free version still.
Okay, I'm gonna take over the screen now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about the existing update. So the updates to existing pro features. So we have four of them. We have reallocate from reports via journal entries. It now works in modern reports. As you can see, the theme here is we're starting to work through all the modern report stuff. As a kind of side note here, for those that might not be aware, Intuit has announced that on May 22nd, they're going to kill classic reports and they're going to go to modern reports. I spent a week at Intuit last week, and I'm under NDA, and like 95% of the things that I heard and talked about in there, I cannot say. But one thing I can tell you is they got the message that that modern reports are not as reliable as classic reports. They got it loud and clear. And I'm not 100% sure they're going to be able to close all the gaps by May 22nd. So it is possible. It is possible. Again, I'm speculating this. This wasn't announced to us internally, but I just like it was very, very obvious that they're still working on the gaps. So it's possible that they might delay that. Who knows? But the official date is May 22nd. Classic reports will disappear, and modern reports will be the only one. Now, I proposed to them, one thing I proposed to them is, if you have to go this route, make it so you can still manually turn on classic reports for people that are on 911 mode. So someone that's like 911, this report's not working, and then be able to do it on the back end or something like that. Just because if it hasn't been fully flushed out, obviously broken reports is going to turn people away from the whole QuickBooks world, right? On a different side note, on classic bank feeds and modern bank feeds, I believe the deadline was May 8th. That's like this Friday. So the old bank feeds should go away this Friday and should only be the new bank feeds. So it's two different things that are being killed, classic and modern, two separate things. Bank feeds May 8th and reports May 22nd. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the reallocate from reports via journal entry. So, okay, can I get in my soapbox for a second again, Mark? These freaking pop-ups, man, just drive me flipping nuts. Like, how is this helping me get my work done? Mark, we gotta get this. We gotta get a pop-up blocker to be able to find these. We gotta be
Okay.
able. I know it's hard. I know
I
it's
know
hard.
it's not hard. It's well, I mean, apart from the fact that some of them I have to actually see, and like sometimes if you click it away, it will come back every single time you go into QuickBooks, and sometimes it just goes away for a month at a time before you see it again, which can be annoying at times. The real problem is not difficulty. It is the fact that I don't want to tick off into it any more than we already kind of do. Like I know we have
That's a good
a
point.
relatively good relationship with Intuit. Let's be very clear.
And
But I don't
the
want to.
right, and the background is Intuit is trying to cross sell the products, right? So like if Intuit, if RightTool is blocking their ability to cross sell, we are sort of enemies of their business plan, so to speak. So we're trying to figure out like how to like give productivity back to the pro users, but not get into it. Say hey, like because if they block us, then we cease to exist. So like I prefer RightTool to exist and pop-ups to exist than pop-ups to go away and RightTool not to exist. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of a livelihood situation for us at this point, because we don't want to be blocked by them. I don't know how Intuit could block it because it's a browser extension, but we just can't. So we got to figure out what the fine line is to be able to clean those pop-ups. And to be clear, I'm just gonna go down a
We do
rabbit hole
block
here.
some of them, to be clear.
Yeah,
Uh,
we do block some of them, but I'm gonna go down a quick rabbit hole for a second. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with this thing called Canny. So Canny is like sort of like the public feedback forum that they have. So if you go through their to their feedback and you go into any of them, the model reports or the banking one, and you go and you click on top. Okay, so top would be like the most. the most upvoted one is the one that has the most people that said, yes, I agree, this is a thing, is stop the pop-ups, product recommendations, AI agent promotions for accountant users. And you see there's a long conversation between users and product managers. So I think it will be like very useful for everybody here, especially for power users, to take a look at Canny and kind of go through it. I mean, they are listening, they're trying to figure out, again, every individual employee over at Intuit wants to help us, but also there's like, the marketing machine that kind of takes over and
Yeah.
it takes over the agenda. So you can clearly see that they want the feedback from us, but this being the top one right now, I think that at the very, very soon, they have it on their plan, whatever that means, right? So I think very, very soon they're going to figure out maybe a more discrete pop-up mechanism that doesn't that's what I told them. Just maybe have like a fixed area in QuickBooks, like 10% of the
Honest to
screen
God,
where you can have ads or something, but no, they shouldn't pop up, I think.
I think honest to God, like we already have a marker, and it's not really great for people who aren't accountant users, but we already have like a flag for if somebody's an accountant user in a file. At the very least, they could just not advertise like this stuff to the accountant themselves. Maybe that could be a solution to them.
That could
Um,
be a solution, right? Just do it to the end users, not to the accountants. Okay. Yeah. So the link is intuit.canny.io. And you have to create an account to be able to comment in there. So just do it. I'm telling you, it's worth it. And if you go into changelog, any like big new thing that they release is released in here, and these things usually don't make it into any other flashy announcements. So like if you want to know where Intuit truly is making changes for the power users, is that Canny board. So strongly recommend check out that Canny board. Okay, so going back to, there's a lot of side quests in this webinar,
I
Mark.
apologize. It's my fault
No,
to
it's
a
my
degree.
fault, and my fault. And also, I'm gonna guarantee everybody here, for those that have like a normal life and have to go to lunch and stuff, we're gonna go over the hour for sure. So I would say Eastern time, maybe like 1:30 for sure, for us to go over all these things. All these things are important. This is our first post tax season one, so we have to cover a lot of stuff. And I apologize for the side commentary. Okay, so reallocate from reports via journal entry. So if you were running a P&L, let's say by class, that would probably be like sort of the classic one. Many, many times we'll have information that's sitting here on the not specified class. So these are transactions that are missing classes. This would be the same thing for locations. If this is a company that has locations, you will have transactions that are sitting here under not specified. You could also have them in a catch, basically a catch-all class or location you created for transactions that don't belong to one particular class or location, but you purposefully want to allocate at the end of the month or at the end of the year, and you want to use a percentage type of allocation. So the way we thought about this tool, and again, a lot of people already seen this, but it's not working in modern reports, which is why we're talking about it again. Here on the report actions, it's called reallocate report. And by the way, between you and me, this could have been an entirely separate tool that we charge for, and it has complete commercial implications by itself. Like we could have just created a separate tool called the reallocation tool, which we charge, I don't know, $10 or $20 a month or something, and people will pay for it. And we would have tons of clients just using it. So like this is part of the value proposition of RightTool when you're a pro user, is that you have all sorts of these little cool little power tools that will otherwise be a separate app that you pay for, that you get it all built in. So like if you haven't seen this, pay attention. This thing can save you hours and hours. So we select the particular class or location or customer job that we want to allocate from. And again, it could be the not specified, which means it's missing in the transaction, or it could be one that you call overhead or something like that. So we pick the one that we want to grab from, and then we have all the numbers that are going to be adjusted. Whoops, I clicked out of that. We're gonna see all the numbers that are gonna be adjusted from that. Now I can modify the number if I want to, if I only want to allocate a portion of that. But by default, we grab the whole amount, because what we want to do at the end of the day is to zero out that column. Okay. And then you can filter and only do the income or only the expenses or only other income. So only you could only show the ones that you want to allocate. But let's say I want to allocate the entire column. So then I'm going to go to next up here. So I don't have to do anything on this screen. I'll click on next. And then it's going to ask me, how do I split those amounts across all your, in this case, locations, across all your locations? Now you can pick your own percentages. So if you have your own sort of fixed, strategically decided percentages that you use, and Mark helped me figure out the math here. I'm almost there. Yeah, 40. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if this is the fixed percentages that you always use, you can save them. So I can click on export to CSV, and then I can have like my little CSV file that I save somewhere in my computer. Again, this will be per client, per company file, because everyone obviously is different. And you save this, and this could be like your little template that you save, right? So a little template that you save. And then when you come back to this, you can click on choose file, pick that file, and then it preloads the percentages for you. So that's one way of doing it, prefix percentages, having a template. The other way to do it is to grab a particular line, and I don't know if this is working correctly. So we're having a little bit of a technical challenge here, Mark. These numbers are supposed to show these. So under circumstances where this part is functional, is we actually grab the total income or total expenses or a particular category, and then we bring it up to here, and then
It's
you can
annoying because I literally worked on that like a week ago.
yeah. So let me go
It's
try
annoying.
this.
Anyways, but it's
I'll try it.
fine.
I'll try it again.
Make
Yeah,
it
it's
good.
here. Right. So what this is supposed to do here is to grab the revenue or the expenses or grab anything, and then from there, propose a percentage. And you click on where it says split proportionally, and then it grabs based on your total revenue and it splits it. We also have a split evenly. And what a split evenly does is based on the total number of classes, total number of locations, it'll split it evenly. By the way, if there's one particular location that you don't want to allocate, you X out of that one. So you get rid of it, and then you click on split evenly, and then it'll split it evenly. So like in some cases, split evenly is how most people would do it. And in other cases, proportional to revenue or to expenses, which by the way is temporarily broken. We'll fix that.
Yeah.
Then we have two options here. We can copy to clipboard and export to CSV. So if you want to do like basically your own version of your journal entry into Excel or Google Sheets prior to importing, and then we will use the paste tool, right, that we talked about before. And then you can bring it back after you work it. Or if you click, actually, which is the one that goes straight into the journal entry, the export to CSV or the clipboard one?
Clipboard will
Yeah, the
copy
clipboard.
it and go, yeah.
Yeah. So you can export to CSV and have a backup of this journal entry. And what's really interesting about it is I'm going to show you what the journal entry looks like. So this would be prior to you importing it, right? This is basically a worksheet. And so you have all the accounts, the debits and the credits. You have a description explaining what we did, right? We grabbed something from this category and put it into that category, that sort of thing. So that's all in the notes here. But we save you a step by just going into copy to clipboard. And then once you click OK, it does copy it to the clipboard, but also it opens up the journal entry page for you. It doesn't paste it automatically. You still have to click on paste, but it's sitting there on your clipboard. So that means then you can paste. So I'm going to right click and paste. And basically it brings in that journal entry. Now, granted, at this point, we could probably automate the journal entry so you don't have to go into pasting in there. We're very, very close to doing that.
Well,
so
let's be clear. We could do it today. Like
okay,
it
I know,
could be
but it's
done
not
in an hour. It's
but it's
just
not
that
ready, Marcus. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying like it could be done in an
It's on
hour.
queue.
I just like to make it so people have the extra bit of
Yeah,
resistance
we,
so
we
that
want
we
we want to
don't
add more friction, right? That's
we
right. That's our goal. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
not in everything, but in this one specific instance, I don't want people to post something or like accidentally post something and then it's like, oh crap, I messed up like really badly. And
But deleting a journal entry is super
it's
easy.
not hard. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So then we would obviously picking the journal entry date is really important because it depends on the period that you were doing. So if it's for last year, make sure that's a 12/31 date on it. But then the point is, once you create this journal entry and then you go back, okay, X out of this, I go back into my P&L and I'll refresh that. That journal entry itself should, let me just make sure I journal entry has the correct date in it. Here we go. Okay, the journal entry should have that. So let's do a refresh. Okay, well, it cleared out all these expenses here. I just got to go back and diagnose this for a second. Let's
About
see.
the date.
February 6th, construction income, save. I got to figure out if we missed out with the negatives. Let me see here.
Yeah, maybe it was that. If that's the case, I'll take a look at it. It should
Yeah,
be.
yeah. So what we missed here, Mark, it was maybe some logic problem. And again, this tool has been getting, you know, it's been getting sidewinded by all the changes in modern reports. But I think
Yeah.
the logic failure here was because we had a negative number.
Oh, was there a negative number in?
It was a negative
Oh,
number.
for an income account.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
that's
negative number.
possible. Okay.
It was a negative
Yeah,
number.
I'll take a look at that.
We had to fix the logic in our pasting. So instead of moving in that direction, we have to just recognize that income is the opposite of expenses when it comes to debit and credit logic. So that's something that we'll fix. So good thing that we kind of like did that. So that would have zeroed out there correctly. So it's but we've had this issue before. We just something with the modern reports, maybe it didn't pick up the negative amount, but that's the
That's
concept
possible.
behind it. So kind of embarrassing that a hiccup happened, but I think this community is forgiving enough to know that we're pretty public when we build in public, and we're not ashamed
Yeah.
of it, but we want to release things rather quickly. So Mark, homework, we got to make sure that if there's a negative, which is not going to be that common, that we make sure that we understand, income and expense are different from negative purposes. Okay. Now, batch change project status. So we updated from projects. So if you go into projects here. Okay. And actually, I'm going to do the one where all
Oh,
the projects
interesting.
change.
I didn't even
Okay.
know there was a new dashboard for that.
Yeah. So generally, we have a whole bunch of projects here, and QuickBooks doesn't give you a whole lot of batching tools. It has some filtering tools, and you can click on the three little buttons here. You can edit or change the status or delete the project. So in batch edit projects, what we've done is we allow you to pick what you want to do with these. So we preview basically the list of all the projects that are there and all the start dates. Okay. And we'll select, let's say, a couple of projects that I want to update. Then when I click on select batch options, I have multiple things that I can do in batch. So one, I could change the status. So I can go to change status, and then I can make this all completed. Okay, so basically I'll go in through all three of them, apply status change. You'll go 1, 2, 3, complete them. So if you are in the projects page and you are filtering by in progress, they go away. But then if I go to complete it, those are going to show there under completed. Okay, so that's one general tool that we added in the project editor. But what we also added is we can also delete them in batch. So that's actually a pretty interesting one. So we can click on delete, and it says here deleting a project. It's hard to undo, and then we'll go through the undoing process, and then we can go to I understand and go to delete projects, and the system will actually go in there and mark each project inactive. So the interesting thing about QuickBooks is you really can delete projects. So if you click on show deleted projects, they actually show in there. And if I want to bring them back to life, okay, so like I deleted them, I want to bring it or undelete them. Again, it's a manual process. I got to click on that and click on undelete, right? So it's one by one. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't really want to delete all these. So I go to batch edit projects, select them all, go to batch, go to delete, undelete, and then I have to click on undelete. And then I understand and go to undelete projects, and then that will bring them all back to life. So they're no longer deleted projects. They're just like regular projects, and let's just hide the undeleted ones here for a second. And now I should show them back in here in the completed section. Oh, so I forget where they were originally, but let's do
I
all.
think when you undelete, for whatever reason, you
Well,
have to, it puts them back into in progress, I think.
okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. So I guess we have to decide once you undelete a project, which status to give it. So Mark, there's two things we have to do. One is decide whether we put them all in not started or in progress or whatever, or if we ask the person to choose which one they want. I'm not sure what the solution is here. I'm waiting for participation from the peanut gallery here to tell me what the logical thing. But I think that if something has been deleted and if we have to choose a status, it should be put maybe in, I don't know. That's a very, very complicated one. So maybe we can, the crowd kind of says, if you have to choose one, it would be in progress, but it would be nice if we could ask you and then we could choose which path we want to go. Okay. So that's the updates to batch change project status. Now, updates to batch edit inside reports. Okay. So let's go back into our setting here. And I'm going to go into batch. And this one is called, let me just turn them all off for a second so you can focus on this one. Batch edit inside reports. This is actually one of the features that when you turn on, it actually opens up a plethora of things that are going on. Okay. There's a lot of things kind of happening. So I'm going to walk you through what are those things. The first thing that this does is when you click on the create button on the RightTool side. So it doesn't work on the regular left side of create, but on the RightTool side, we have a new button here that says RightTool batch edit. And the reason why we have to kind of work it this way, which I believe is still a little bit confusing, is because depending on what you want to edit, because there's so many potential things, some potential things that you could edit, we have to organize the batch editing into specific reports. So like if you want to, for example, turn off billable in time entries, we have to go particularly to an unbilled report. So we click on unbilled time. And I believe this one still works. Is it modern or classic? Do you remember, Mark, which it's
It
modern.
should work in both,
right?
But specifically, we worked on it for
modern.
For modern, yeah.
Right. So I have these. Let me just do here like all dates. So I have all these time entries that contain. And let me just open one for context, just so we know exactly what we're trying to do here. Is we're trying to uncheck this billable, right? We're trying to get rid of this little billable checkbox because it wasn't supposed to be there because it was a mistake, whatever it is. So we go to batch edit, and then we pick the ones that we want to remove that for. So if I want to remove it for, let's say, all of these that are 2023 and 2024, right? So I just want to keep all the billable ones for 2025. So I'm going to grab quite a bit. This might take a long time for it to do it, but we'll grab a whole bunch here. Let me just I'll do 2023, make it easier. So I'll do these two for 2023, call a run batch, and it'll go into each of those time activities and uncheck billable for you. So then when this report refreshes, those transactions don't show anymore. Okay. Liz has a question. Liz, go ahead and ask it through the chat, and then we'll try to see how we can work that into the conversation here. So that's unbilled time. If you want to change a different context, a different thing that we want to change is I want to change the class of location of time entry. So again, I'm going to pull up a separate report. And depending on which report you pull, which is why we need that screen to kind of like be a buffer there. So I'm going to open up a transaction here in a new tab. And this one, let's see, just go back here for a second. So this was missing a class or missing a location. So whether it has a location that's missing or something like that, we can batch edit that location. So we'll go to batch edit here, and then we'll tell it, what do you want? Okay, I want to add a location or edit a location on those time entries. Then I go next, and then I pick all the ones that I want to edit a class for, add a class, go to run batch, and I'll go in there and add that missing.
Let's say 4,000. Good Lord.
Yeah. So it will add that missing. So if it's 4,000, that would take quite a bit. So that's it. And then we have somebody saying, can we batch edit the memo in time entries? Stacy, that's pretty interesting. Could you tell us a use case just so we understand the context? So you want to go into a time entry and you want to batch edit the notes? Do you want to add something to it? Do you want to edit or replace? What exactly are you trying to achieve? Just so we understand contextually, Stacy, because that could be interesting. And the answer is yes. We probably, if we could change one thing, we could change the other thing. So, um, okay. So yeah. So that's the one thing that's working, which is this little window opens up, and depending on what you're trying to edit, they're listed here. Now we removed a whole bunch of them. There used to be like 12 different things in
Yeah.
there because we created one all-encompassing batch editing tool, which I'm about to show you in a second.
And before you show that, yeah, just show the kind of a slowed down version of where you went to open up that window.
Yeah, so you have to have the right toolbar open. You're gonna click on the quick create button inside the right toolbar, which is the plus button, and have it in there. Right tool batch edit. Mark, is it possible to add this like on the favorites?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, because I think at this point I may want to add a link in there just because it's not a lot of people don't go into this button here. So having it hidden there becomes a little bit complex. So maybe if we could have it as a favorite there, that could be an easy way to get people to use it.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is batch delete in search. And we added a couple of features to that. So when you go into the I forget what this search button is called, but the search button in the top, and you go
Yeah.
down to advanced transaction search, which you could also do it when you go to right tool and you just type search and you click on transaction search. It actually works both ways. And you go into this screen, the advanced transaction search. We have a batch deleting tool inside here. So let me turn that on. So let me just type here search. And it's called batch delete in search. And it's a batch pro option. And the feature is not new itself, but some enhancements to the interface were recently added. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page. And now we should see a button in the top right, top left now.
Well, I mean, it just depends on where that go to all transaction thing shows up. I don't know why they move. Anyway, it's not going to worry about it.
It doesn't matter. Okay, it's up there. It's up there, left or right, whatever shows up. So it's called batch delete and void. And then when you click on that, basically a new screen comes up. I'm just gonna make this bigger. And we just mimic what you were seeing earlier. So whatever showed up in the search screen shows up here. So we just copy that. And now you can do a quick search. So let's say, for example, I want to only show the stuff that has the word sample in it. So I'll type sample, and then all these get select basically filtered. And I can select all these if I want to, and I can do void selected or I can do delete selected.
I need to
Now,
change that, the default of that. That's something I'm going to add to my notes.
what do you mean? Change
Well,
what?
we have a thing at the top right where it says like the select visible, select, deselect visible, select all. I guess it's hiding it. I forget. It's been a minute, a couple months, so I forget what I did. But it looks like if you check the checkbox on the left, it should only select the visible things. But it sounds like what it's doing is it's selecting the things that are hidden.
Oh, okay. 25 are selected. Yeah, that's an important thing. And then
Yeah, I
this
need
says
to
here,
change that.
it's good that we added this little thing that says here, 8 transactions hidden by active filter will also be included in the operation. So you want to be clear. So yeah, that's a good point. So what you're saying is instead of clicking up here, we should do is we click on select visible.
Well, in theory, you should be. I think that it would make more sense if the checkbox at the top left would only select the things that are visible currently.
Right. That way.
So
And
I
then we
do need to
don't
change that. But for now, yes, do select visible.
right. And then we don't have to have a select visible and deselect visible. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. And then we also added this little button here that says create CSV or voided transactions to delete. So we'll click on that. And if you do, I'm gonna void a couple that way I don't destroy this file way too much. And then I click on void or delete it. What happens is after it goes to the process of voiding or deleting those transactions, a little download will pop up here on the download side, and basically will be a spreadsheet that shows you everything you deleted or voided. So it's like a sort of a mini backup of what you just did, just in case. Again, you can't undo it, but in case you needed to have a record of what you deleted or voided in batch. Did I cover everything on that, Mark? You think pretty well
Yeah,
covered?
that I think that was good. Yeah.
Okay. So that whole hour was for us to rant about something, talk about an old feature, and then talk about things that we edited from the existing features.
Yeah,
Now
when we
let's talk
make the
about,
videos for YouTube, we're gonna need to splice this to make it so there's gonna be one video that's like updates and then one video that's like this is the new stuff.
yeah, true. So let's go through the new pro features. This is stuff that's really exciting. This is the reward that the people that stick through past the hour get, which we'll get to see all the new features. And I think you're going to be excited about these. So batch edit customers and vendors in a new category called List Pro. Okay, so let's go through this first. Let's go into our settings. And now you should have noticed that we have a new thing called List Pro. And we're going to add anything that's batch editing lists. So batch editing customers, batch editing vendors, batch editing classes, batch editing locations, batch editing accounts. Well, no, accounts has its own, but everything but accounts will be in there. Batch editing products and services. All those things are going to be in here, right? Except for accounts, because accounts is its own like ecosystem. Let's call it that. So we have batch editing customers, vendors, and batch edit and import classes and locations. So I'm going to show you those two kind of in one shot. So let's go into our customer section. And let's go into customers and leads. Okay. And then get rid of these pop-up style things. Then we have here, which says batch edit customers, the little link there in red. And basically, this is similar to the batch edit projects, has a similar interface. We copy and pasted the interface, basically. And then we get to pick what we want to change from these customers. So I can pick, and again, projects has a different screen, right? But for customers and sub-customers, they will show up in here. So let's say, for example, I wanted to mark these two customers as old customers, and I want to rename them and put old or something next to the word. Again, whatever use case you have, that's your own thing, right? So I'm going to go to select batch option and then go into append or prepend in display names. Then I go down to continue with selected, and then I'm going to append next to it space old or something like that. So it gives you a quick preview. This is what it used to look like, and this is what it looks like now after I add old to it. So it only previous two, right? Mark it just a previous two. It just happens to be only selected two.
Yeah.
Then I click on apply all changes, and then it goes into each one. It renames it for you. So when it goes back into the screen, it does that. So that can be really useful. Now, another use case is flipping last names to first names. So for example, we have this Ted Ford Dan, Gary Weissener, and Brandon Wilson. Let's go to batch edit customers. And I hope this, did we actually add that feature? I don't remember. Select
Sorry,
batch
which one?
options.
Oh, switch display name?
Yeah, switch display name right here. Switch display
Yes.
name. So I go to switch display name, and then it says set the company name. So that means go and look at the company name and change the display name to whatever the underlying company name was, or switch to first name, last name, because I want to make that flip, right? That last name, first name's flip. And it goes both ways, right? So I can go to the last name, first name, or first name, last name, and then go to apply changes. And then it will change. Again, it doesn't change the underlying customer name. In this case, it just changes the display name. So I'll go through all these and then give me a first name, last name. Okay. Another interesting one here is let's go to batch edit customers. And then I'm going to pick all the ones that are not uppercase. So like if I wanted to turn everything into uppercase or turn everything from uppercase to proper case, again, whatever you want. So I go to select all, and then I go to, where is it? Change display name casing, and then go into continue, select it, and then I can make everything uppercase. Okay, and then go to apply changes, and it works both ways. So I can make it all upper, all lower, make it all proper, or what they call title case, switch comma to negative. Actually, I don't think I can make it all lower. That I cannot do. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
ever
I don't
was.
think we have all lower. I think we have Cam. Yeah, Cam was the only one I think that we have
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. So that's I mean, like it seems small, because you're not really changing any accounting, but I know for a lot of people this is particularly useful. Also, we can go into each of the customer details and change certain things. We can change custom fields, we can change payment terms, we can change tax exempt status. So So we have a custom field called birthday, a custom field called type, a custom field called anniversary. So let's go to type, and then we'll change to, let's say, commercial, something like that. Then payment terms, I want to make them all net 15. And then I'm going to make all these taxable or tax exempt, or something like that.
Yeah.
Then
And
I go
when
to,
it says taxable, we do not have a thing that will let you choose like if you have like a very specific tax field they need to be in. We do not have that. I just want to be clear. It will just literally make them the default taxable.
taxable or non-taxable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't go into the specific details of tax. So if I go into any of these customers and I edit them, I'm gonna notice that. Let's go down here to my custom field type commercial. Right? If that was a drop down, it would show you the drop down, but in this case, it was
Yeah.
a free type. Then we have our net terms 15. And was there something? What was the other thing that we changed? Oh, taxable,
Yeah. Which
which
is
is
somewhere in that.
somewhere.
Oh, sales? I don't know. I don't think.
Oh, I may not have taxable turned on in this
Oh, okay.
file, so it won't show. But it does it on the back end. So if you turn sales tax, it will show taxable. Uh,
There's a few questions people had, and I'll try to
Okay.
answer them. Stacy asked, does the first name, last name thing only work if like there is a first name and a last name in the customer? I actually don't know if we can do like well, I don't know what happens in the situation where it doesn't have a first name, it only has
Okay.
like a last name.
Okay. So
Uh,
what she's asking is the customer is missing first name, last name. Okay. And there's only display name. Okay, that's what she's
yeah.
asking. So how would it work? Actually, we haven't even tested that. So let's see. So Brandon Wilson does not have a first name or last name in the database. You only see a display name. Great question. So I don't think we have tested it like that. So thank you for asking. Let's go to Brandon Wilson. And let's say if we do switch display name, and then we go last name, comma, first name. So based on the
And
preview,
we can't preview it yet because
because
it's not
it's not
something that's
there.
data on the page. Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
It probably just will be like, there's an error. We can't do it.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. So
Um,
Stacy, to answer your question, you have to have both things in there. Okay. We would have to have a
uh,
different utility altogether to fix that, but that's a different issue altogether.
yeah. Other thing is, does it change the name on check field? It does not. But is that if that? Do you think we should change the name on? I mean, I assume. First of all, let me step back. I actually don't know. It might change. QuickBooks might have a thing on the back end where the name on check field will get changed when the display name gets changed. So I'm not saying 100% that it doesn't do it. I just know I didn't program it to do that.
I
Um,
don't think we can access.
because that one does show as Brandon Wilson, which is kind of what we changed. But
If I delete it, let me hit save. If I delete it, I don't
well,
think.
I don't. I guess you have to have something in there.
Yeah, I actually think it just copies it from display name. Um,
Yeah.
I guess the question would be like, who asked that question, by the way?
Ufuoma.
Ufoma, like maybe tell us, do you want to change? Like, what do you want? What do you want us to achieve? Do you want us to copy it from the display name? Do you want us to change that field particularly? You want us to grab it from individual? Like, if you tell us specifically what you want to achieve there, we can add it to the tool. So because we haven't thought about touching that field yet. And someone else is asking, can you do the same thing with projects? I'll double check that. Let me just see in projects. So if I turn on batch editing in projects, let me just go back into that. So we should be able to batch change the names in projects, right? As well. Let me try
Um,
like the same thing that we did with the projects, right? So we can add the
or
word
with the
old to it. I think, I mean, if anything, I think that was the first reason that we created this tool in the first place.
honestly,
So
it's been a minute.
yeah. So yeah, we can do the same thing. So we can append
Yeah.
or prepend to the project name. So you want to add, like I have a
Okay.
client that likes to put the year of the project next to each project name. Like that was a 2025 project, right? So they know it's not a current 2026 project or whatever. They can do that. Some people like to put like the the division that does it, or the type of project, or the job foreman or whatever. They
Yeah.
like to do that. So that can all be done. Okay, so we added
Fair enough.
2025 to all the project names. So that's to answer your question on that. Okay. Batch edit, import, batch edit and import class and locations.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna like this one. We had this turned on. Let me just make sure we had it turned on. Yes, batch edit, import class and location, that's turned on. Okay. So let's go into classes. I think people are gonna particularly like this one. Let me refresh that.
Watch it be. It's just gonna be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm just not gonna like load for whatever reason.
Yeah. Can you tell me what the function is so we can pull it really quick? Just a button is missing. Let me
Let
go
me
in.
see. This is in the classes page.
Yeah, classes or locations. Okay, well, the locations one's showing up. I don't know why the classes is not.
Oh, that's weird.
Actually, I think the classes might be different. I think that's hidden under batch actions. No,
Okay, well, for right now, just do the locations one, I guess, and then
let's
I'll
do
look and see.
let's do locations. Okay. So
That's
up
weird.
here it says location tools, and basically, I got my current. This is my current 5 locations I have in here. So let's say I want to edit all these. Go to select batch options. And there's a couple of things I can do. I can batch edit the names. So I can, let's say, make them all caps or find and replace. So let's say I want to replace West. Let's say I want to replace West with left.
Wow. That's always annoying when that happens. I gotta figure that out.
Okay, so batch edit names, make it all caps, and replace West with left. Okay, and I'll go to continue preview. And I'll go in there and it will make it all caps and change West with left. Okay, there we go. North, left. Okay, there we go. So that's one of the things we can do. Something else we can do, and I think maybe we might not have to show up anymore. We have paste new locations. Let's do let's make some things subs. Okay, that's pretty interesting too. So I'm gonna replace East with US. And okay, and then let's say I want to make all these a sub of US. So I go to locations tool, pick everything except for US, go to select batch, batch make subs, select US, click OK, and OK. And I'll go in there and make each of these a sub location of that one. See that? Pretty neat. Okay. Pasting also is pretty interesting. So let's go into location tools. Let's go to paste new locations. And then let's say, for example, I want to add a bunch of countries or something as my locations that I have. So I'll just go in there and paste them from wherever I have them. Okay. So paste them. Between you and me, I went to ChatGPT and just said, give me 10 countries. Okay. And then I went to create locations. Okay. And I'll go in there and boom, it'll create every one of the locations for you. So this is like pasting new things into QuickBooks, which again, we want to see what people actually kind of like about this. And then we'll see where we can insert more of that pasting stuff into these locations. This works in classes too. Just currently it's not showing up. Like the button is not showing up. Do you have
I
the
wonder.
function, Mark, so I can just show it?
Oh,
Did you
I
find
do
it?
not.
Okay, that's fine. We'll move on to the next thing. It'll be there on the next update. Just the button
Yeah.
is not showing up. Okay. Okay. So this is the thing that I really, really want to showcase, which is a complete overhaul over the UI of doing batch editing while you do drill downs. And I think this could be a game changer for cleaning up, just cleaning up QuickBooks in general. So let's go into a P&L. And this is all part of, okay, sorry about that. This is all part of Batch Pro and Batch
Batch
Edit
edit.
inside reports.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all part of this catch-all category, Batch Edit inside reports that I showed earlier you have this list of reports. But this one activates itself during a drill down. So let's say, for example, let me do it last year. And let's say I'm doing a cleanup, or so instead of going into the reclassify tool, which is very useful, the built-in reclassify tool like QuickBooks gives you, you're going to use our tool to the reclassification. But it's really cool because you can use it in a drill down scenario. So let's say, for example, I want to drill down on these car and truck expenses. So I'll click on the total dollar value there, and that will take me into my drill down report. Now, I probably should have turned on enhanced.
Well, and again, enhanced report drill down only works on the actual detail reports. It does not work on summary reports because if I try to make it work on summary reports, it wants to hate me, and I cannot fix that.
I see. Okay. So that's something that it's because of modern, right? Because it works.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's modern report specifically. It does not like it when I do a report drill down on profit and loss or a balance sheet. Again, if you're doing it from an actual drill down report, it works fine.
It works. Okay. So what we're suggesting is people right click on the number and go to open new tab.
Yeah.
That way they don't lose kind of their place on the P&L while we're doing the drill down. Of course, we want to figure out how to do that. But we could also do it with a control click. Let me see, command click. Okay, so if you can, for now, you can still do command click or control click to open a new tab automatically, and you don't kind of lose your place in that line. So anyway, while we're in the drill down, if I want to make some edits, I'll click on batch edit. And now we have a new interface for batch editing because we can batch edit almost every field inside the transaction. We can batch edit the class, account, customer, location, and all of these are custom fields. Okay, so we can do it for custom fields too. Now we're working. Go ahead, Mark.
I want to say one thing, customer. I want to be very specific with this. Customer is explicitly referring to the lines of the transaction, not to the payee.
The customer project in expense transactions,
yeah,
not the customer of an invoice.
Now, Hector has asked me to add payee to this list of things, and we will do that, to be clear.
Yes, side quest. Yeah, we're actually, I'm personally working on a updated interface to this, just because it's kind of tricky. So for example, if I say I want to change the customer, that as Mark said, that's only the customer project of a particular expense inside of a transaction, which means it wouldn't work on invoices. So like we have to like rechange the interface. So it's very clear to the user what type of transactions you can edit with those things. So we'll have a version 2 of this very soon, but at least this is out and this is working. So let's say I want to change the account. So let's go very simple, account and class, and go to next. So now I see all the transactions. Basically, it just copies the transactions over. At some point in the future, we'll probably filter out and only show the editable transactions. That way it's not confusing. And then we pick all the transactions that we want to change, the account and the class. And we just pick the account and we pick the class, go to run batch, and it does it for all 3 of those transactions. And naturally, when this closes and this report refreshes, those transactions will go away because now that they're part of a different account and I'm in a different drill down. So that's an example. One thing we strongly recommend is that you show the stuff that you want. So like if you want to see the class right before you edit it, because I find that to be useful, but it doesn't open by default. For whatever reason, that's how QuickBooks designed this whole thing. But if you want to edit the class or location, you probably should display the class or location first, so you know they're missing, or so you know what you're going to target basically. And then after you show them, then you can do the batch edit and then go, okay, I'm missing, those classes and locations, and I want to edit them across the board in those transactions. Okay.
And also another thing that Stacy brought up that is a good point. Again, account. When we say account for this one, I don't know what we're going to name it. Yeah, it's like the expense account, not the bank account.
Right. What QuickBooks calls the category, not the source account. So if it's a deposit, we can't change the account the deposit is going into. We're changing the income account that each of the deposits is hitting, or the chart of accounts account that's not the source account. Now, changing source accounts, that's also a thing, but we kind of have the solution in the register side.
Yeah.
Those RightTool nerds that know the RightTool has that in the register side. That's a little bit trickier, changing source accounts, but it's not impossible. I mean,
I
it's
mean, honest to God, we already changed locations. Changing the source account's really not that. It's
yeah,
basically the same thing. It's just a matter of how we're going to name it. If we're going to say source account or whatever, because I don't know if it's 100% clearly obvious to people when you say account versus source account versus
right. Yeah,
uh,
both the
header.
account needs to be specifically um, spelled out what type of account it is, and customer should say customer project in expenses or something like that. And then we should add payee as a completely separate thing. Um, so yeah, so we're very proud of this feature just because I think it's going to enhance the cleanup process and it adds a little bit additional flavor to this thing. The next one is see reconcile dates in the balance sheet. This is a super cool one. This one is inside Modern Reports Pro. Okay, and it's called see reconcile dates in the balance sheet. We'll turn that on. Save that. And let's go into our balance sheet. Okay. Okay, so this file might not have anything reconciled, so I may have to go on a side quest and reconcile something really quick. Let me just reconcile
Sure.
one of these accounts. That's the joys of having.
Also, it could be
Yeah.
that I don't know how long it took or how long you would waited for it, but it could be that it just took a minute because it does take
No,
not a
I
long
just
time.
know that this file doesn't
Okay,
have. That's a different situation,
gotcha.
right? I just know this file doesn't have reconciliations. Okay, it's a brand new sample file that I'm working on. Okay, so let's go back into the balance sheet. More pop-ups. Kidding me. Okay, all right. Just go back into the balance sheet, and it's under report actions,
Yes,
and
we're
it's
putting a
called.
lot of things under that report action.
Yeah, yeah. That's a potpourri of options in report actions. So I'll keep you that. Also, some RightTool nerds are going to be clicking on that every day to see if something else shows up in there. So we're going to show reconcile dates, and I'll go in there and I'll figure out which accounts have been reconciled, and you could quickly see. So as you reconcile things, you look at a balance sheet, you'll know what to review based on which one of these have been reconciled. So it works across all of them. The only problem is that, as we mentioned earlier, we cannot modify the way QuickBooks does printing. We cannot overwrite that. So if you do a PDF or an Excel, it won't show up. If you do a RightTool CSV export, yeah, that will show because we grab whatever's on the screen. But I know
Yeah,
that that's just not useful for a lot of people. So I apologize. Until we figure out how to hack the native PDF export, the RightTool CSV is the only ones.
yeah. I see a lot of
Eileen,
people saying it'd be
Eileen has
nice
an
to turn that
interesting
on
one.
as automatically, or and I assume you know what Eileen's talking about better than I do, mostly
No,
because my
Eileen
brain.
says, can you pull in the date cleared for transactions in a transaction detail report?
Okay.
Eileen, this is the problem with that. It's a great question. The problem with that is that information may not, that's not, that information is just not available. So if I look, and this is advanced, right? So if I type cleared, it just tells me whether or not it's being cleared. So like that information is actually not available. Like we don't have
Do
that.
we have?
I don't
We
think so.
we might. Okay, I want to put a very big asterisk. I don't know, but I there might be something we could do. The problem is, it's just that in a transaction detail report, there could be like hundreds or thousands of lines, and
It'll take
getting
forever to
all
load.
that data, it would not only would it take forever to load, I think QuickBooks itself would get mad at us
Right. I'll,
trying to do it.
I'll put a big strain. And by the way, when every time we say QuickBooks gets mad at us, we don't say that because of the vibes. Like I don't care. So they're mad at us. The problem is we don't want them to block the functionality. That's what we mean by that.
Yeah, in this particular case, I mean, if we called like a single like a call like 5,000 times in quick recession or succession, then it would put a load on QuickBooks' servers, which means that not just your QuickBooks would load slower, but everybody else's QuickBooks
Correct.
would load slower. And I
Correct.
don't necessarily want to do that.
Right, of course. Now, Marnie says it would be cool that if you clicked on the reconcile date, it would take you straight to the reconcile window.
So
So Marnie,
genuinely surprising we didn't do that, to be
so,
honest.
sort of, kind of.
It's because it's already, yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
So when you click on it, so we do have a built-in. When you click on it, it actually takes you to the register page,
Okay.
but it filters. It does a filter for not reconciled. So it basically shows you all the transactions that are left to reconcile. So like we're thinking of the cleanup process. So like generally, I'm looking at that and I want to see if anything like shouldn't be there. And if anything shouldn't be there at that point, you can batch delete or whatever, right? So that's a whole nother ball game there. Okay. The last thing here, oof, man, we went long today, Mark. It was your fault. Okay. The last thing is move to from categories and items. This one should be pretty interesting. Let me just make sure we have that term on. Yeah, so this one's called move to from categories and items is inside Accountant Pro. And what this does is this is just to fix individual transactions. So let me go into a bill. And let me pull a bill here that's already been created. So let's say, for example, that this stuff shouldn't have been in the category. It should have been in products and services. Now, to make it a little bit more useful, I'm going to add a customer project. I'm going to add a class, and I'm going to put here last month's bill or something like that, right? So just some sort of text just to add a little bit more flavor into the value of the the data that's in here. So we have move to items and move to categories. So either one. If I click on move to items, what this does is it will ask me, wait, what item would you like to pick? Because it's not like it just can't guess, what dues and subscriptions translates into item. So you just pick, and if there's multiple ones, so you pick the item and you go to move to items, and it basically deletes that line in category and moves it into items. Easy, simple. Same thing if you go the other way. So you got something in items that should be in category. We click on move categories. It will ask you which account is it. Go to move categories, and then it'll delete it from one line, move it to the other line. Pretty simple how that works. All right. So that's it. If there are any other questions, we'll answer those. One thing I want to remind everyone, I want you to make sure that you get RightTool certified for a couple of reasons. The RightTool Expert Program, which requires you to watch all 3 videos and take both exams. In the slides, there's the YouTube playlist that contains all the content. Mark and I were talking about redoing all these videos like in August of sorts. I think we actually picked the date. We'll announce that later. So we'll redo these videos so they're fresh. Okay, they're about 6 months old at this point, but we're testing on these. Okay, but the specific reason why we want you to get certified, particularly for the certified experts, is because we want to talk about something called super tools. Actually, hold on for 1 second.
Yes, this is going to be technically this Zoom call is going to go on even longer. So just to be aware of that. I'm putting the slides in the comments now.
All right. I had a 1:30, so I got to wrap this up really quick. So
Okay, yeah.
we are launching a new set of tools called Super Tools that is going to be a separate product that we're going to sell at some point this fall or next year. And we want to give access to all of RightTool Pro users that become certified pro. And I'm telling you, these set of tools are going to be game changers. They're going to bring RightTool to the next level. We're going to figure out how to bundle them at some point, right? So you could have RightTool Super Pro or something like that, and there will be an additional amount of tools that you have access to. And we have 6 utilities that that we have already completed. Okay. And we're going to officially launch this May 26th. We're going to invite everybody that become a certified pro to join that webinar. And we're going to walk you through all 6 of those tools. I'm going to give you a quick preview of what those tools are. This has been the secret project that I've been working on for the last month. This is like me working night and day and building these things. We have something called the accruals manager. We have a batch importing tool that's going to be really, really awesome. We have a certificate of insurance manager. We have a business debt schedule manager. We have a chart of accounts manager, which allows you to do all sorts of edits to chart of accounts, like really, really fancy batch editing, chart of accounts, and a collections manager. And all of these are going to be really interesting, and they're all going to work off QuickBooks data. We're going to hijack the memos in QuickBooks and be able to collect all sort of information. But I will talk about the accruals manager really quick, because this one is already actually available. Is it accruals? Is it called?
We already
Accruals
have a
tool?
set
Remember what
of
the
favorite
URL
for
is?
it. It is
Accruals feature. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is actually active. This is the only one that we teased and made active. We're gonna gate this behind after May 26th. This was our first experiment towards this, and we've been working nonstop on this. We previewed this to, I don't know when we previewed to some group.
Yeah.
We previewed it. And what this essentially is it creates journal entries for you automatically for either depreciation, amortization, loan. This would be loan payable, loan receivable, and be able to edit previous entries. It's a whole world of, it's just like what we're doing is just very intricate, but at the end of the day, it's like super simple. So
Yeah.
for example, I click on depreciation, and then I'm going to call this Volvo CX90. And let's say I put this in service on March 1st, and it costs $60,000. Salvage value is, let's say, 10,000. Useful life is 5 years. We're going to use double declining, not disposed yet. We're going to do a monthly. The expense account in this case would be, okay, I don't have a depreciation account. Imagine for a second that this advertising is actually depreciation. Okay, don't crucify me on this.
And we are working on this like literally one of the things we have is already a thing where we can add accounts.
Account, but this is depreciation. Then it says include initial purchase entry. That's if you want us to enter the actual purchase of the vehicle. Maybe the purchase of the vehicle has already been entered. Okay, I mean, again, that will be optional. And if there's a specific class, a specific location, a specific vendor name, and then you want to add, and you can call this work truck for Mark or something like that. Okay, so after we do that, we go to preview schedule, and basically it creates the amortization table for us. Okay, and then we're going to click on done. And then down here, it creates the schedule for you, right? So I can edit it, I can remove it, but I can, where is my, oh, right here, preview and create. So I click on preview and create. It shows me exactly what it's going to look like, debits and credits, description, name, vendor, location. I can download as a CSV first if I want to kind of like edit it or whatever, or I go to post to QBO, and this thing will go into the future and post all the journal entries for you. This does not automate it and post it on the date. It does it all ahead of time. Now we're building an editor. So if you dispose this in the middle of the process, we go back and delete them. But this creates the journal entries for you in the future. That's what that does. And there's all sorts of other things on the May 20. And if there's any errors, it will show you what the errors are. And then we'll kind of explain that on May 26th, how to troubleshoot these things. So again, the message here is get certified. Where's my thing here? There you go. Get certified, become certified pro, and we'll invite you to May 26th, and we'll give you access to the world of super tools so you see it and you help us make that better. Mark, I'll give you the parting words so we can wrap things up.
Yeah. One final thing, the QuickBooks Online Advanced Fixed Assets thing might be better for you. It might be more like correct for what you need, but you have to have QuickBooks Online Advanced for that, whereas this will work inside of all clients. is one thing I wanted to put out there. And the second thing is that, just I enjoy the call with you, Hector. I always you're probably my favorite person to get on calls with. I like nerding out about stuff with you. Um, and I appreciate the time.
Back at you. And I'll see you in New York next week. By the way, we
Yeah.
still have a few people here. If you are in New York or live in New York and you have not messaged me yet, May 12th, somewhere around Midtown or maybe Chelsea, we're going to take people out to dinner, right? Tool users. So email me or Mark. You should have our emails if you haven't done so already. And we're going to, both Mark and I are going to be together. Doesn't happen very often through the year. We're going to be together in New York City, May 12th, and we had like 4 or 5 people confirm already. But if you are in New York, close to New York, or planning to be in New York on May 12th, dinner's on us. Just email us and we'll add you to the list. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you.